How improv rules can stop you from being a jerk at work. If you're tired of the old cookie-cutter marketing advice and want to take your personal brand to the next level with bold, actionable strategies that truly reflect you, you're in the right place. Let's untangle your marketing mayhem with Zoe, the video confidence coach, on the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Unboring Your Brand was recorded on Wadawurrung land. Too many business conversations go straight to the no, but, or yeah, nah, or the Australian, yeah, nah. Now, is that a yes or a no? There is a quiz below. Make sure you check that out. Best way to put it is, especially with business conversations, there's a lot of stop fast, full stops to any sort of ideas or thoughts, just quicker than a, knock off on Friday. But if you want to build a small business or build a brand that thrives, creates cool stuff, and doesn't make people hate meetings or being pitched by you, it's time to get friendly with yes and. I know. So, drum roll please. So for those who may not have the pleasure of being in any sort of improv situation, I tip my hat off for you. Congratulations on avoiding this, but I'm going to bring you in now. So I'm going to tell you what yes and is. So just yes and in italics. So what improv is theatre exercises where you improvisationalize a scene, a conversation, usually with another person or another couple of other people. And the one rule when it comes to classic improv is you accept what is offered and then add to it. You don't dismiss what is the scenario that is happening in front of you or what you are walking into. You don't dismiss it outright. You say yes and. You add on top of it. Now, what does improv in the theatre world have to do with business? We are all faking this. We are all just holding on by the seat of our pants because none of us have lived 1,000 lives as being a business owner to be able to know exactly what to do at every single moment. Yes, some of my older clients may have a lot of experience in their particular industry and niche, but things are constantly changing and constantly evolving. There's things that worked in the past that are definitely not going to work now. I love you and I thank you, but cold calling is not my thing. Hi. But in business, it means that building ideas need to be fostered and grown upon and not just stomped out at the first opportunity. This helps conversations, not just with your clients, not just with potential clients, but also with staff and with any, contractors or anyone that you're bringing into your team to help you out. It keeps conversations open, playful, and productive. Even the ones that are a bit weird and may not seem like, the exact solution to the situation that you're having or the problem that you're experiencing within your business. You're allowed to use the yes and approach just to see where the situation goes. And if you're given enough time and you think, it's not getting to where I want, you can yes and it and loop it back around so you can get back to the goal at hand. So why is yes anding a game changer in a business? Now, of course, I'm talking to my personal brand builders. At the end of the day, you are a business owner because you are giving your experience, your knowledge, or your work, or your time, or your hours for money. You are a business owner. And you may be a contractor, but you're also a business owner at the end of the day. So, welcome on board. Thank you. Make sure you have your ABN registered. Yes anding stops idea killing in its tracks. It encourages collaboration with whoever you're talking with, even if you're just doing it with yourself, you're having a conversation with yourself about some sort of marketing query or problem, or even just an area in your business. If you're feeling stuck, using the yes and principle allows you to expand your thoughts. And even if it's not fully baked, give you an idea, or an MVP, as I like to call it, a minimum viable product, which is something that is cheap, easy, and quick for you to make that you can start running with at a moment's notice to help you generate money or generate leads, which will then lead into money or other things that have to do with business terms. So when it comes to yes-anding, this builds confidence in yourself and your team, if you have one, or even in just like the people around you, gives them the confidence to keep showing up creatively. And if you work with clients quite heavily, especially in creative fields, being able to use this yes-anding, especially for people who are very quick to shut off ideas immediately, I highly recommend. So say, for example, I was working with a woman a couple of years ago now. Yes, we were a couple of years ago now. And she, we'd talked maybe once or twice for, say, 10 to 15 minutes previous to this, and we were having a sit-down meeting. Now, this was before I did my discovery forms, and these were before I did my 15-minute conversations, where I got a better idea of who I was talking with before we agreed to, say, have a sit-down meeting. I traveled all the way there, all that good stuff. And I had done a lot of research onto her industry and target market. And essentially what we were doing is we were brainstorming and pitching ideas. She knew that she wanted to work with me. Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. But she also knew that she had a very distinct idea in her head. And I later found out that she was more testing me to see if I could vocalize that thought and idea in her head. And I'm not a genie. I am not a magician. I'm not one of those mesmerists. I am not here to make your thoughts come to reality just because you've had them in your head. Yes, I am a professional in the marketing space, and I am a personal branding and video marketing coach. But you can't expect someone, especially someone who you've just met, to magically turn things around for you. And especially when I am bringing her research, I'm bringing her, these are what your, industry fellows are doing. Here is what you need to do differently to stand out from them. Here are the people that you're targeting. I did a very in-depth research into her customer target market to get a really clear idea of what they want and what they expect, but also, more importantly, what they don't expect, to then be able to stand out in front of them and their market, and what they ultimately showcase the solution to their problem. And she just kept shooting them down. Every single idea I had, she kept shooting it down. To the point where I was getting to my last couple of ideas, and I'm like, okay, I need to stop this. So I stopped the conversation and I said, okay, it's very clear that something's going on. None of the ideas so far, none of them are getting past like my first 2 dot points. So you're clearly not interested in how this works. What is your idea? What have you seen? What do you want to replicate? And then from there, we were able to talk, get a bit more of a foundation, and then I was able to yes and from that situation, or the idea that she had laid out, to the point where I could start incorporating the ideas that she had already poo-pooed, but transform them in a different way by using yes and to be able to get my point across. And in the end of the day, we ended up working together and it was all fine. And when it comes to, now of course, that example that I just showed you may not happen every single day. But what you can do, and what you can use yes anding for in every day, are things like brainstorming sessions where no one is scared to speak up. No one is scared to give their thoughts and ideas, even if it sounds crazy. The idea is that's the point of a brainstorming session, it's to brainstorm. You can also use yes anding in client calls where you explore ideas together, very much like the example that I had before, instead of defaulting to, I don't think that will work, or I don't think we can do that, immediately poo-pooing the ideas. Now, of course, when it comes to certain clients, and especially we'll give you a discretion here, there's a couple of times where some clients can feel very big for their budgets, is what I like to say. And sometimes you might need to rein them in a bit, but let them explore their thoughts and explore their ideas. And then once it gets to a reasonable level, as the expert and professional that you are, then you can start reining them in, being like, okay, we can have that, expensive idea, but we're going to bring it back to something that we can do within your budget. And another thing that you can do on the day-to-day is utilizing yes-anding in social media content planning that doesn't feel like you're pulling teeth every single week, month, week, fortnight. Whenever you're doing social media, using that yes-anding principle to be able to build upon especially concrete ideas and things that you've already had in the past regarding your brand, using the yes-anding principle to explore the other options may be useful for you, and also stop your railroad thinking, especially when it comes to the way, all the things that you talk about in your brand. So let's go through the big differences between yes anding and yes but. Yes, but. Now, as you can imagine, with yes, but, now I'm putting emphasis on that but there, mainly just because I want to say but. But with that, it very much sounds like a rejection in a polite outfit, like in a nice suit, just someone coming and slapping you across the face. That is very much what it feels like when you are saying but. Now, of course, this comes in people's vocabulary. You say yes, 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 but, because you need to bring things back to the real world. Now, I ask you and I implore you to start recognizing that within the way that you speak or the way that you talk to clients. Now, say, for example, if you are in a very hard and fast industry, or, for example, you're in something where they're asking for the world, but they don't have the budget for it, you're allowed to say yes and invites the expansion, exploration, and more innovation. And then be able to lay out the facts, but not in a, there I did it again, not in a yes but way, but in a yes and here is what we can do, or out of what we've talked about, here is what we can achieve with your budget. Because yes, we are yes anding to bring people on board, but also allow people to trust us more, because we're not automatically shooting their ideas down, especially in creative fields. When it comes to your personal life too, you can also use and but. Look at me, Zoe, being able to explore opportunities outside of just business. It's almost like I'm human too. So when it comes to yes anding, and especially because it's all connected, as you can imagine, with both your personal and your professional life, this also helps with the relationships or with any dramas that you may be having with family, friends, flatmates, or when it even has come time to choosing dinner. You're an adult. You're allowed to make dinner, or you're allowed to choose 2 or 3 things together. You're allowed to explore what yes anding can possibly do for you in your personal life. It makes you a better listener and a better communicator. Well, just full stop, because you're trying to make sure that you're not just waiting for them to stop speaking so you can start speaking. I'm going to nod in my head and pretend like none of us have done that. Because when you are yes anding, you're incorporating the stuff that they've already said and already brought to the table to make sure that you're able to build upon that foundation that they've already laid. So in that, you become a better communicator, and hopefully maybe your partner or your loved one or family member will love you more. I don't know if that's possible, but you can understand where I'm coming from that, because moving away from the but factor to the and factor definitely changes that style for you. And of course, we aren't able to do this all of the time, but building that momentum in your regular speak, in your personal life, will stop killing those harsh vibes and also allow you to be a little bit more open to the possibilities that life and the universe can give you. So what are my go-to tips for saying yes anding like a pro in both business and professional life? I'm using my hands a lot today, so if I hit the microphone, my sincere apologies. You can start by actually listening before responding. You are allowed to take a pause after someone has said something and then formulate a response and build upon, because you are yes anding as opposed to yes but. Yes but. For those who aren't watching the podcast on YouTube, hi, I'm using my hand and just smacking you down. Yes but. But yes and allows you to open up the conversation and again build upon, as I've just discussed. You can an even better idea that isn't perfect is still better than something that is completely dismissed. You can build upon something that is already pre-existing. You can't build on something that's not there. So it is also especially useful for those of my clients and my potential clients who find themselves being crippled by self-doubt. Yes, I might be nervous, and I'm going to do it anyway. Yes, I'm worried about how this will turn out or what backlash I'm going to receive, and I'm going to do it anyway. And sometimes that's just what happens when it comes to putting yourself out there in your personal brand, in your business, however you intend to market yourself, because people need to hear your message. People need to understand and hear what you have to say. And to do that, you need to do it anyway. So you need to yes and. Yes, very good. If you didn't say anything there, just imagine you said something there. Yes anding doesn't mean agreeing with everything. I want to stress that just because you're saying yes and, it's almost like saying yes but. You're acknowledging what they've said, or what the foundation that they've built upon. And just because you're building upon it doesn't necessarily mean that you agree, but you can also use that yes and to make sure that you cover those bases that maybe they did not consider or they didn't realize. But you're doing it in an additive way as opposed to a negative way. It means staying open, staying curious, and building with people instead of building against them. Because when you are working with your clients, when you're working with your family, when you're working with your friends, you are trying to build something together. Be it a conversation, be it a life, be it a solution to their problem. You are trying to build it, not tear it down. So in your next meeting, try a brainstorm where you'd use yes and as opposed to yes but. And maybe if even in your personal life, maybe thinking about what's for dinner, say, I feel like this. So I feel like sushi. Well, I feel like tacos. Well, we can have both. And yes and. Now, of course, that is going with the agreeing side of things. But you can definitely build upon things to work together. And if you want to, you can always try it with your barista and see what magic unfolds. Of course, it's entirely up to your confidence at the end of the day. But I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Unboring Your Brand podcast. Thank you for listening or watching Unboring Your Brand. You can find detailed show notes with tools, offers, and episode transcriptions. Just click the first link in the description or go to vcc.training/podcast. Get involved and ask me anything about personal branding, video strategy, or just a friendly small business chat via my email, g'day@vcc.training. That is gday@vcc.training. The Video Confidence Coach would like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I record my podcast. I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I stand with the traditional custodians of these lands in working towards a more equal future. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Look forward to me chatting at you next week, superstars.